It is Friday, 23rd of January 2015. The time is a quarter to 10 o'clock in the afternoon. The European Union as a rational organization. First of all, let us see from a certain perspective from which entities European Union is aparted. European Union is aparted from its member states, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Is aparted from instrumental means with no self-worth, like agreements, rules, money. Is aparted from the human rights, freedom of conscience, freedom of thought, freedom of speech, right to fair trial, freedom from slavery, freedom from torture, right to life. And also it is aparted from the moral values, non-violence, honesty, truth, peace and love. How all those internal parts of European Union are interacting with each other under a certain structure and dynamics. First of all, we have moral values. At the extent that those moral values are being comprehended from the European Union citizens, and from the extent that those moral values are being exercised positively, creatively in their everyday life, then those moral values functioning as road markers, they are offering to European Union citizens a perception of right and wrong. European Union citizens, by having the ability to discriminate between right and wrong, they gain the ability to adjust their behaviors in order of that behavior to be rightful or wrongful, to the extent that citizens choose to adjust rightfully their own behaviors, then citizens, discreetly or collectively, they may enjoy their human rights, right to live, no torture, no slavery, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of conscience, and all the rest of human rights. By having within our societies the human rights being actively respected, then we rationally may expect our lives to become meaningful, our own selves to enjoy fulfillment, peace and harmony in ourselves, in our homes, in our family, in our neighborhoods and within our nations. What we are doing currently, I am being informed by the mass media and from the internet. What we are doing is arguing and verbally fighting and becoming angry. About what? About some instrumental means which have no self-worth. Some the objective of the contents of this argument is about national debt, about reforms, about honoring agreements, about memorandums, and we have in one in one side some politicians who are threatening that they are going to cancel memorandums and not honor agreements and other kind of arguments. And we have on the other side politicians or officials from European Union foundations, which they are demanding keeping agreements and making reforms and etc. There is a lot of anger and a lot of arguments. But the interesting thing in all these behaviors probably is that almost none of them are having reference to moral values. They are mainly being focused on instrumental means. What we should do is instead of arguing, of becoming angry or verbally fighting. I think that what we should do is something that it should have been done when initially the European Union was designed. I think we should decide on a common set of moral values, and after agreeing on that, then we should rebuild each and every social foundation in the European Union administration and also within European Union member states, each and every. We should rebuild all those social foundations with reference to this commonly agreed set of human values, something which means, in other words, to design and reform all those social foundations so that this specific set of moral values functions like the most important external parameters of each and every social foundation. Without having done this thing, I believe that besides all those obviously instrumental means like contracts, memorandums, common rules, agreements, money, those are obviously instrumental means. Besides all those, I believe that probably all the rest of our social foundations, both in European Union administration and also within our member states, probably they may become degraded also to instrumental means. And someone might ask, okay, what is the problem with that? The problem is that whatever organization, bureaucracy, or whatever organization which includes human beings, is designed and is structured and it has dynamic with no reference to a common set of moral values, it is highly possible, or even it might be certain, that this organization or this social foundation is going to become degraded to a mere instrumental means. And why this is not good? It has to do with the outcome of its operation. If something is only instrumental means, then with no reference to moral values, then this instrumental means, by various kind of techniques, one among them is by using the notion of undecidability, which means practically all those situations in which we consider being problematic, and which also this situation is defined within a language framework which is inadequate in order to express within this language framework an effective solution. And to say the same thing in simpler words, because not every citizen have the same amount of knowledge and information and ability to perform highly complicated logical or mathematical thinking, by using this technique of undecidability, one which is not which has not honest intentions, can use almost any kind of instrumental means, from agreements, from contracts, from memorandum, from social foundations like internal security authorities, judicial systems, everything. If all those have become degraded in mere instrumental means, any one who does not have honest intentions is very well able to use those instrumental means in order to cause harm either in other citizens as well as to group of citizens, or even to societies as a whole. It's very easy. Anything, from contracts, from agreements, from rules, from money, from education system, from mass media, from governments, from everything which does not has embedded within its structure and dynamics references to certain set of moral values, those entities can do harm. I think we should change the agenda. First of all, to calm down. Stop becoming angry. Stop threatening. Stop rushing things. And try to evaluate what is it is more important, and then what is less important. I think in this current situation, and also in every other situation, the most important thing is human life. What about human life? Is there everything okay with human life? Everyone is safe? Our societies are safe? Everything is okay with human life? I don't want to say more. I think probably I made myself understood. Anger helps no one. Is unproductive. Arguing is with negative arguments is also unproductive. Fundamentally, I believe human life is beautiful, and we can use our human lives joyfully and creatively. And those things is a nice opportunity to establish all the European citizens and also all the European governments among them to establish productive and pleasant relationships. And through those relationships they could discuss about the moral values issue, and then to evaluate all this achievement of European Union organization in terms of rationality and in terms of effectiveness, and try to cooperatively find all those occasions of structural or dynamical issue of European Union organization that may or should become improved, and do all this while not forgetting the dimension of time. Time passes by and does not return. There are innumerable human beings within European Union who are suffering. I think that thinking about them creatively, how to support them and restore for them a humane and pleasant everyday life is more important than becoming angry, than shouting, than throwing arguments against each other.